Thanks everybody for stopping in and watching or listening to the latest episode of the Let's Talk podcast. Oh, that one's a tongue twister. Today, have someone that's very near and dear to me. She was one of the very first people that we were introduced to when we first came into the telecom industry. Charinna Kushnir. She, I'm pretty sure most people in our industry know this woman. We met her probably about 2 years ago. My whole team, we got invited to an impromptu dinner and just honestly just hit it off right off the bat. She's become just a very someone that's very near and dear to my heart. She's a very like-minded person. I just share a lot of similarities with her. She's got a great team. It was one of those things that we started dinner one night, and then I think we all just talked for hours. So I'm really glad to have her here as one of our first guests on the podcast. So Charinna, thanks for joining. I'm really glad that you decided to come on, and thanks for being flexible as well with me. So I'd like to start off this podcast kind of having the interviewee kind of give a 30,000-foot view, or just dive into it, who you are, talk about your family if you want to, your history. I try not to talk too much there in the beginning. So you go ahead, you dive in, who you are, what makes you basically what makes Charinna Charinna.
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, Travis. First of all, thank you for having me. The love for the volley team, as I call them, or the volley boys, that is a reciprocal feeling. Very much. We love you guys dearly. Lucky to be part of your crew, as I call myself, of like-minded people.
Yes.
A little bit of background on me. My parents immigrated to this country from the Ukraine in 1977, and I am a first generation Ukrainian in this country. And I think most of my work ethic comes from watching what my parents did in this country, coming here in their 20s, not a great grasp of the language, a small child and another one on the way. And, you learn a lot about adversity and how to overcome when you are brought up in that environment. And I think that unfortunately, it's something our children don't understand, Travis, the way that we probably understand it, because we've created these amazing lives because of the things that we've experienced for our own children, who I'm extremely proud of. Both of my sons. My oldest son is about to turn 33, actually, and he's running a very successful business himself called Kushnir Fitness, and he is a professional bodybuilder, which is a little known fact about me, that I have a son who's a professional bodybuilder. And my baby, Jaden, is 21, as much as you can call that a baby, Travis.
I remember that first dinner, him coming in, and he fit right in with everybody. So I've had the pleasure of at least meeting one of your sons.
Yes, world's best intern, I call him. Mm-hmm. And he is now a junior at University of South Carolina, majoring in finance with a minor in Japanese, of all things. Yes. So super proud of both of my boys and what they've accomplished. I started in tech. Gosh, Jaden must have been 18 months old. So I guess almost 19 years now, 19 and a half years ago, working for a small interconnect in Maryland called Quick Connect Communications. And I realized pretty quickly that the boys kind of found me to be a threat, because they used to say Charinna sells flux capacitors, but Charinna sold them a lot better, Travis, than they did.
Hey, knowing you, I believe it.
So I sold phone systems for about 14 years of my career. I've been really lucky to kind of always see the writing on the wall, I think. And I realized that hosted voice was kind of where things were moving in the voice industry. And I went to work for Momentum Telecom, and I spent 6 years there. And that was a great ride. And I have such incredible respect for the team at Momentum. still very close with the management team there. Something I've learned in my career, and I think that everybody should take this with them, Travis, is don't burn your bridges. Like, it's a
Absolutely.
critical thing in business, no matter what. Don't burn your bridges. It's not, it's never going to end well. And then I've been at Data Canopy now in the VP role for 2.5 years. February will be 3 years. Really exciting time for us at Data Canopy because we've gone through a merger acquisition. And so things are very, very exciting. Every day is a new adventure right now, for sure. But we're loving it. So it's great.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback too, on that, it, the merger and everything, a lot of companies, at least me being more on the outside, obviously, I I have my experience with volley, and I'm not a part of any other organization. So just being someone on the outside, it seems that um, when this happens, it's either a complete getting rid of the old, but in your guys' case, it seems like it's just been a very a good mesh, and that rather than it being not so much, a lot of times things become a takeover. It doesn't seem like it's been that way. So can you talk a little bit more about how that transition's been for not just you, but possibly your leadership team as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the company that we merged with was a company called IntelliShift Sidus, and they were strictly a co-location company, and they had no sales team, and they were not part of the channel. So the need to mesh the organizations was a necessity because we were the sales arm, and we're always the sales arm. And now we've meshed with an organization that didn't have one. So, of course, there's always going to be some growing pains when a non sales organization merges with a sales organization.
Absolutely.
But we have now acquired 5 of our own data centers. And the data center space is a really interesting space right now, Travis, and extremely different than where it was 2 years ago. So,
Talk about that
two
a little
years,
bit more. So yeah, so kind of
yeah,
give a, to those that may not be so well versed, I'm decently versed just because of the nature of our business and us having to deal with those kind of data centers. So, someone that may just not be as in tune with the colo industry. What did this market and the industry look like? Let's say 2 to 5 years ago, where it's at now, and then maybe kind of give where you think it's going to be going in the next 5 to 8 years.
yeah. So, for those people who don't really understand what a colo is, I call it real estate for computers. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. It's also where you want to go if there's a zombie apocalypse because they're going to have power no matter what.
Yes.
So, run to the nearest one. So yeah, a data center really is nothing more than real estate for computers. It's a place for people to put their servers. And 2 years ago, we saw this hard shift, right? After COVID and during COVID, really, from people continuing to have hardware and servers and moving to the cloud, the
Yeah.
AWS, the Azures, the Googles, the private clouds of the world. And so we saw this decline in the data center space because people were moving to the cloud and they were getting rid of their hardware. So if they were getting rid of their hardware, there was nothing to put into the data center, right? So we couldn't give the data center space away, right?
Yeah.
Now, 2 years later, with the emergence of AI companies, we can't keep up with the demand, Travis. It's a totally different pendulum swing to the other side where now when people call me and they're like, oh, I'd like to get a rack for, $800, I tell them like, I'm sorry, like there is no such price. Like, I would say almost like AI is the Bitcoin of 2023 and 2024
Yeah.
because they are taking up space and power at such rapid rates. The other thing that we've seen in the channel that's kind of been fascinating to me being a channel person, Travis, is that there has been an exit from some of the major players in our industry from the
Okay.
channel in its entirety, right? And basically, the reason that I believe that that's happened is because the AWSs and the Azures of the world and the big AI companies are taking up so much space and power that those companies just don't need to be in the channel anymore. They're like, if you're not meeting a 300 kilowatt minimum, we're not even going to talk to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of the deals that we see in the channel, and we have seen some very big ones in the last 6 months, very large. Probably we've got a 6 megawatt deal, we've got a 4 megawatt deal, like some of the largest deals I've seen. But historically, the channel is a rack, 2 racks, 3 racks.
Yeah.
And there's very, very serious problems in certain markets with power, like Austin, Texas. Like I just sold the last 3 racks that I have there, and I don't have. It's not a space issue for me. I don't have power. I can't get it from the power company.
That just blows my mind,
Yeah, it's
especially
crazy, right? It's such a crazy like
for those
swing.
that have that kind of stay up to date, especially on the end. Me myself, I was in energy for 15 years prior to the telecom industry, so it's funny that Texas has become what was once such a bastion for basically an access of energy. I think with the advent of a lot of tech companies starting to move out that way, there's starting to be a dry up. So what do you think that there's anything in the interim that can help? What where's the shift to for these data centers to get more of that power? Do you see anything that maybe they're doing themselves to kind of alleviate those stresses?
No, the problem is that power is you being in the power industry. It is what it is. So we're kind of in this epic waiting game in a lot of our locations for the power company to bring in more power.
Oh man.
We're very focused on states that have tax abatement right now, like Delaware, for example, where we currently have our own data center. A lot of the AI companies, especially, are looking for states that have tax abatement. So we are continuing to look for states that are tax abatement. Now, one of the interesting things, though, that we've also seen in some of the spaces that we're looking to acquire are from companies who have completely moved to the cloud and have abandoned data centers that they stood up on their own. So that's one of the things that we are very focused on. And we are working very closely with commercial real estate, both on the acquisition of space and power, as well as brokering space and power through commercial real estate agents. Is that a company that's abandoned a data center that they have actually built for their own infrastructure is a target space for us right now.
Okay, and so are you seeing? I mean, uh, uh, are you seeing a lot more of those pop up? Especially, it seems like even just businesses themselves are starting to, as they go more remote, they're starting to, the commercial real estate industry is just it's in a weird volatility right now. So companies like your guys is are you seeing that's maybe that's kind of where you guys and organizations like yours kind of shift over the next couple of years is to kind of take advantage of a lot of these companies that had all of these infrastructures in place before they just kind of probably don't anymore. So is it more of looking to grow the physical infrastructure space, kind of where a lot of the industry is going to go in the near term?
I mean, I think you're still going to see quite a bit of companies doing large cloud migrations. The other side of this coin, Travis, is really what I endearingly call buyer's remorse, right? In the sense that you had a lot of companies during COVID who went to AWS and Azure, and they didn't know what an egress fee was, and they didn't budget for a 30% uptick in the bill in the cost of taking their data out of the cloud. So, right. So our business is very split right now between cloud and colo. And we spend a good amount of time at Data Canopy doing audits for customers who did cloud migrations into AWS, Azure, and Google and are like, ooh, these bills are a little high. Are there any other option? Like, can we leave some workloads in public cloud and move some to private cloud? Because that makes more financial sense. There's only a very small cross section of customer that actually has to be in public cloud. But the old adage, right? Nobody got fired for buying IBM, right? Nobody got fired for buying AWS or Azure because they're household names. They've done a bang up job on marketing. But what the trend shows us is that their prices are going to double and or triple. And that's going to make it a market where that can't be obtainable for an SMB company. They're going to be looking for alternatives. What we've
Now,
also
now with
seen, go
now
ahead.
with you're talking about how it's space is starting to become limited, but a lot of people are still buying. A lot of people are still myself included, I need that. I need being cloud for what we do that's kind of a last resort for us. So we need the actual physical location. I need my hardware there. What can you shine maybe a little bit more color on what types of businesses are you starting to see maybe becoming more of a need for those spaces? Is it a particular vertical, or is it just kind of a everybody is looking for that kind of space?
So the trend that we've seen again is the AI companies are huge. Financial services are still a good cross section of them are still using hardware. And here's the whopper: gaming.
Okay.
So like gambling, most of the gambling organizations, when they get approved in a state, they must have 2 racks of colo in that state. So gaming has
Oh,
been a
okay.
huge one for us over the
Yeah,
last two
you learn
years.
something new every day. That's that.
Yes. So I tend to stay away from conversations about verticals because there's really not a vertical that we haven't touched as an organization. We're very heavy in medical right now, but medical is doing more cloud migration than they are hardware. But gaming, for example, they will continue to be hardware and they will be for the foreseeable future.
That kind of matches what we're seeing too. A lot of our bread and butter has been education and medical over the years for basically, mostly. I'd say probably 90% of our customers over the past 10 years have all been on-prem systems, but we're finally starting to get, with the expansion of the E-rate program and more government funding on the medical side, we're starting to see a lot more of those companies start wanting to go to the cloud. It's becoming a headache for their internal staff, not being able to staff enough people that can not not adequately, but there's a lot of strained resources in those industries right now. So we're seeing a lot of our customers also shift to the cloud as well. So it's a
And I have a great
that
case
seems
study
pretty
on
in line
that.
with what we're seeing as well.
Yeah, and I actually have a great case study that I can share with you on the medical front. So all of my data centers are HIPAA compliant. But I think the thing that people lose is the medical industry has to have their own private cloud. They cannot be in a shared environment because that is not HIPAA compliant because
Yeah.
there's always the potential of commingling of some type of data. And we have seen medical facilities who are not in their own private clouds and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is a HIPAA violation." Well, we had a partner who was putting customers into shared environments, and we're like, that's not, you can't. So we actually stood up a private cloud for them, Travis, that actually cost them less than the cloud that they were in that was a co-managed and had other customers in. So I think that a lot of what you and I do every day is about education, right? That's like the biggest thing. People always ask me to talk about disaster recovery, right? Because that's a big thing that goes hand in hand with security that we talk about. Well, people don't realize Microsoft is not backed up out of the box. If you're not backing up your Microsoft O365 instance and you lose your email, that's it. You've had a
Yeah.
disaster. And it's like we're constantly trying to push that messaging out to customers because if we don't educate them about that, when something happens, they're like, well, you didn't tell us that, hey, that's not being backed up.
Well, and I think that theme is very common, and I think it's what to kind of stroke the data canopy ego a little bit. I honestly, I think it's what kind of it's what separates you guys from most of the other players that at least I've interacted with in our industry is I think that at the end of the day, the data canopy team is really, like you said, it's about giving the customer as much knowledge as they possibly can, and I think that an informed customer is a smarter customer, which makes it just an easier to work with customer. And a lot of the doom and gloom messaging that I see a lot of other organizations that are like yours put out there is it almost like they're trying to scare customers into using particular products, where I think the approach that you guys take and we strive really every day here at Volley to take too is what the customer thinks they need, they may not need. So let's get together. Let's actually figure out what the customer needs. Let's look at the overall stack itself. let's say the customer has A, B, C, D, and E, but they really only need B and D. So trying to educate customers, I think, is becoming a superpower for a lot of organizations lately, especially since there was such a shift. I feel in 2020 to 20 to, let's say, late 2021, early 2022, and I think that all has to also, it coincides perfectly with the fact that customers appreciate it a lot more when they feel like you're fixing their problem and not just selling them a solution. They want to know that their IT people are actually there to get to have their best interest at heart. And when all you're doing is pushing product, the customer just feels like another number. So I think that that's definitely a testament to what you guys are doing, and I think I personally, being on the outside looking into your guys' organization, it's the superpower that really sets you guys apart. And it's apparent in just knowing you. It's knowing that Data Canopy has someone on staff like Charinna that is anybody that knows you knows that you're not trying to just write a number on a piece of paper. You want to get to the core of the issue. um, and you've really educated us here as well. Kind of, we're thinking about expansion in a whole nother way just because of the connections that we have with you. So I love that approach that you guys take. It really is a testament to what you guys are building. Really
Thank
love
you.
that. Is anything, talking more of the AI side too, is there
Yeah.
anything that maybe Data Canopy is incorporating themselves with AI, or how does AI, if at all, factor into more of the organizational side rather than a lot of clients that are hosting AI? Is are any kind of is there any need for AI in an organization like yours?
Well, if there is, we haven't figured out what it is yet. We're so
Okay.
busy, right? Truth be told, we're so busy trying to figure out how to get those AI companies stood up in our data centers and give them space and power. We have not really had the opportunity to focus on where AI will assist us as an organization, but I'm sure that we are getting to that portion of the program. We haven't quite figured out what our need for AI as an organization, other than chat. What is it,
Yeah.
GPT?
Yeah.
For the occasional writing that we all are using it for, at least to give us some ideas. I don't know that we've really incorporated AI into our everyday just yet, but I'm not ruling that out. Maybe they're going to replace me with
Yeah.
AI, Travis. Who
Yeah,
knows?
well, and like you said, AI is kind of the Bitcoin of this year. It's the hype. It's what everybody is using it in some way or another, especially on the contact center side. So I want to ask as many questions as I can, because I'm not fully educated as well in that complete aspect of the industry. So anytime I can ask questions and learn myself as well, that's always good.
I
Um,
know. I wish
you know,
I could give you better answers,
Oh no,
but
that's fine. That's
as
fine.
time evolves, we'll do this
And
again.
maybe that's a good thing though. That I think it shows that uh, there's a use case for everything, and maybe it's wiser to not completely jump into the AI aspect. We personally here, it's not really incorporated into anything we do, other than I'm using it as basically an editor. Hey, I wrote this piece of marketing. Please make sure that the grammar's fine and it doesn't look like a 5-year-old wrote it. So that's how we're kind of personally using it here. So you talk, great rundown of who you are
Thank you.
personally, and a very deep dive into the professional aspect. And speaking more into the professional side, if anybody anybody watching this that has experience with Charinna and her team, they are very heavily involved in the channel side. um, you know I see, I, I watch you on LinkedIn and I see all your posts. It seems like you are just everywhere. When you're not traveling, I swear you're Mrs. Worldwide. But when you're not traveling, no, and it's time to just relax. What are
Yes,
you what are you what are you doing in your off time to kind of, obviously we love the industry, and I personally I love what I do, but I just need to shut it all down. I need
right.
to find something that is just, I forget about my job for for the weekend if I can. So what's Charinna doing to kind of just to escape from the day to day?
So there's a couple of things lately that I have been focused on. So I am trying to master the art of bread making.
Okay.
So my husband's like, give up. And I'm like, no, I will not give up because I'm not the give up kind. He's like, just buy the bread. And I was like, no, I will not. I will figure out how to make this the absolute most delicious bread anybody's ever eaten. So that has definitely been a challenge because there's just so many different recipes out there for how to make it. And I'm trying to
Okay.
find the one that's like the one. So that's something that I've been focused on. I recently took up pickleball because
Me too.
yeah, so I have been lifting weights myself for almost a year and a half now, but I am not a cardio junkie by any means or stretch of the imagination. And my trainer was like, you gotta run. And I was like, but I don't want to run. I hate it. So I was
Yeah.
like, where can I find cardio in disguise? I call it.
No.
so
Yeah.
so my husband and I have taken up pickleball and we're really, really enjoying it. I think part of that has to do with the fact that we found a great club to play in with new people to meet and a great instructor. And so the love for that has definitely developed. So we're out there playing pickleball 2 or 3 days a week.
Oh,
And
it
then
is it
the
is
other,
such a fun sport to play, and
isn't it?
it's
Can you call it a
an
sport
easy
though?
way to get your cardio.
Yeah. Can you really call it a sport though, Travis?
It's it's big ping pong. I always I try to explain to people it's the cross between ping pong and tennis.
Totally. Right on the money. And then the other two things that I've been really focused on that I'm really excited about is number one, the executive evolution that I have been asked to join. That is something I am really excited about going into 2024. And I am heading up sponsorship for that organization in
Oh,
2024. And it was such a great honor for me to be asked to sit along Mackenzie Manus and Darcy and Heather and Danny.
all
So
great women in the industry.
all yeah,
I'm
and
glad to
our
work with most of them and have
incredible
come to
group.
know them a little bit more over the years. So it's I love that. I love that you are so involved because I couldn't think of a better person to be involved in that kind of aspect. So talk about that a little bit more. How that's been so far.
Yeah, so we had our first inaugural retreat back in August. And I think that there is always a preconception when you get a lot of very talented women together that there can be some cattiness or some of that going on in the background. But I am so proud to tell you that we had almost 40 women spread across
Oh, wow.
3 houses sharing space for basically 2.5 days. And it was all about learning and empowering and helping and just like really coming together as a cohesive group, which I am so incredibly proud of and so grateful to be a part of. And I think the mission in 2024 is really going to be focused on continuing that type of empowerment to say like, we're good enough. This isn't, an issue of we've got, some of that imposter syndrome. We are doing our jobs well and people respect us, and just continuing to perpetuate that messaging and mentoring women who need to be mentored in this industry and bringing new faces into this industry, some of the younger girls that are coming up, and those of us who've been doing this a long time like me, kind of helping those girls come through the ranks. It's just a really important message that T has, and I am honored to be part of that organization and working with those women. Yeah, that one's a
love
big
that.
one. And then of course the charity that's near and dear to my heart is Strong as Hearts. And we are tirelessly raising money for research for muscular dystrophy and finding a medication or a therapy that will slow the progression of the disease and increase the lifespan of children who are suffering from MD. And the first round of trials is extremely positive. We've gotten great. Ryan will be posting. Ryan Barbera, who runs Strongest Hearts, will be posting some of those results shortly on the website. But
And I
that
will
is,
put all of these resources that Charinna is talking about in the show notes too. So please,
thank you.
as she talks more about the strongest hearts, please make sure that you do some reading and I'll put a link in there too for if anybody that wants to do some financial giving as well, because it's a wonderful, wonderful organization.
Thank you. And we have raised quite a bit of money to fund this research, but that, just so everybody knows, that's where the money for Strongest Hearts goes. It all goes towards funding the CRISPR research that needs to go through clinical trials before it can actually be FDA approved. But this is really, something that is very important to not only the Data Canopy family, but to my family, to my husband and to my sons. And we are just, my youngest Jaden did a fundraiser last year at University of South Carolina that raised over $10,000, and
Oh,
we will
wonderful.
again have the same fundraiser in the spring for the fraternities at USC who worked so hard to raise this money. So incredibly proud of what these guys have done. When we talk about the next generation, Travis, like, we wonder. And these guys that we met at USC who really worked hard for us last year to raise the money are really an incredible group of guys. And I know it gave me hope that there are kids out there who want to be involved in giving, in philanthropic work. Because, one of the things I want to teach my own kids is to be sure, like, it's not just about taking, it's about giving back too,
Yes.
and giving back as much as we can. And so, Strongest Hearts is where we put our effort. Super important to us as a family to continue to fund this research and find a way to slow the progression of the disease.
I love that. It's more
So that's where I
people.
live these days.
More people need to and that's, if there was any doubt in anyone's mind why I had this amazing woman on this podcast, it was for these reasons. I couldn't think of a better person to get that message out than you. So thank you so much, Charinna, for being on. This is this has been a wonderful talk, and I think that the message that you brought in this interview is one that people need to hear. So again, thank you. I
Thank
always
you,
love
Travis.
having a nice talk with you, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, my friend. See you
I
soon.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.